All right. I think it's recording. Make sure. Okay, so my name is Richardt, and this is my BDAN 430 final. The three questions that I had regarding the data. First off, I'll show you the data that I downloaded. I downloaded it from the Tableau website, the one that you provided. Just so anyone else can see. You can download this workbook from this website right here actually, and that's what I did, and I kind of elaborated on some of the charts that they have provided, and kind of formed some questions that were answered from the data provided in this Tableau workbook. The first three questions that I have were what countries have seen the most confirmed cases, and what type of countries are they? So I kind of did some literature reviews behind that, and took the some of these cases and kind of expanded on them. The second question was, how rapidly has COVID-19 spread? How does the number of cases compare to the amount of deaths? The third question I have is, have any of the countries managed to control the rise of the amount of cases in their respected homelands? Okay, and that'll take us on to the next one. So this chart provided by Tableau, I think it gives a good representation. It actually shows the counties too. That might be a little extreme. Let me move this around. Let's focus on the United States here. You can see the West Coast was really affected. The East Coast, I'm sorry, was really affected by COVID-19, especially up on the Northeast coast. New York up in this area for sure had a lot of cases. And that brings us to the next story slide here, to answer my second question of what countries were really affected the most by COVID-19. And as you can see here, the United States was actually the leading factor. Not the leading factor, but the leading country in COVID prospects. Yeah, here is a list of all the countries of their respective cases. People wouldn't probably have thought that there would have been this many cases in the United States, but compared to all these other ones, but this is just on the records, and I was doing some readings on everything, and some countries aren't really displaying their correct number of these, especially they said something about China wasn't displaying a correct number of cases. That brings us to the next slide. This answers our second question. People ask, is it really that big of a deal? Yes, it is a big deal. Look at the trend line on this. It continues to grow over and over every day. More cases, more cases, more cases. Look how rapidly it continues to grow. That brings us to our next slide, and this still this other table provided by Tableau is great to see. The number of cases on the left with the number of deaths on the right. This can actually answer a lot more questions, and you could have even went into a lot of depth on adding another Excel sheet into this Tableau workbook of healthcare and the respective countries, and what materials they have as far as, okay, there was 1 million people here that got the cases, 62,000 people died. How good is that healthcare there? Like, do they need to improve? There's a lot of things that can be explained using this chart, but it just goes to show that the U.S. is still up here leading in deaths. The next one, this answers okay, yeah, my last question is kind of all the charts kind of put together here, but this slide, I don't know where it went. Oh, here we go. It's just the map of the deaths confirmed cases. Oh man, what's going on? Here we go. Kind of compare them next to each other. We'll take a look at the United States. I like that you can scroll in and kind of get a look at each country compared to how many cases there were, compared to how many deaths there were. Lots of cases. Yep. So back to my questions. Actually, the United States was hit pretty hard in regards to the COVID-19. We were actually hit the hardest after doing some literature reviews that the United States was definitely hit the hardest, not just among cases, but deaths as well. It has exposed a lot of areas in our healthcare system that have been lacking, and I feel as if this Tableau workbook can definitely give some insight on how exponentially this continues to grow, and making sure that we continue to take the right steps forward so that the United States doesn't continue to be the leader in all of this. It's something that we all need to take a step back and really focus on what we need to do to better all of our resources. Alrighty, and speaking of resources, well, this is just the Blackboard page that I downloaded it from. Here's also the workbook that it can be found, my sources. Yep. Thank you so much for a good semester. Hope all is well.